Hey, welcome back to the Bride and Geek podcast. This is Jessi, and beside me is
Ray, the geek.
How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's good to hear. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Today, we were going to talk about the staircase murder, or the Michael and Kathleen Peterson story here. This is about our fourth time through because we tried a couple different formats. We had AI write a script for us, and it went
Not so good.
not so good. Then we had AI write us like a summary that we were going to go down through beforehand to tell all about what happened, and also did not go fantastic
No,
because apparently
we can't read.
neither of us. Yeah, we can both read, but like I don't know, it's almost like we're choking, like you're standing in front of the class choking.
Yeah. It's not
Like
so
we're
good.
standing in front of the class in our underwear.
So, we're going to just try to do the best we can.
Yeah, we're just going to wing it like we usually do. So I did, as we were watching all of because we ended up watching The Staircase, the documentary,
on Netflix.
which was the original documentary from like, I don't know, 2004 or something, 2005. I don't know when it was released, but it was the original one that went up through the end of the trial. But it also was amended afterwards to continue on the whole way through, basically like 2017. Then what else did we watch? We watched the actual like dramatization of the story on Netflix.
Oh, like the second part. Yeah, the second one that was...
Yeah, you don't remember? We just finished it freaking 5 minutes before we started this.
Yes.
Like literally 5 minutes before.
We watched the first two, and there's more than two. There's no more than two. But anyway, Ray has his little notebook there, and
I do have my notebook. I scrawled. Oh man, it is so much. It is like 5 pages, single spaced of freaking chicken scratch.
So basically, this happened December 9th, 2001. The Peterson family had a mansion, beautiful home, in the Forest Hills of Durham, North Carolina. Michael, he was a novelist, and his wife Kathleen was a telecommunication executive at Nortel Networks. So, if you want me to start, December 9th, 2001, Michael and Kathleen, they've been at home relaxing. They rented a movie from Blockbuster, they had their dinner, they drank wine. Mike's son, Todd Peterson, had a friend stop by the house at 10 p.m. and observe the couple watching the movie and enjoying their evening. Later, Catherine spoke to a coworker on their phone at 11 p.m., sounding perfectly normal, no signs of distress. Afterward, the couple sat by their pool drinking wine. According to Michael, Kathleen went inside the house before he did. When Michael eventually came inside later that night, he discovered a horrific scene. Kathleen was lying unconscious in a massive pool of blood at the bottom of the narrow, dimly lit wooden back staircase. Michael called 911 in a state of sheer panic, screaming that his wife had fallen down the stairs and was still breathing. By the time responders and paramedics arrived by the home, Kathleen was dead.
Yes, she was. He obviously, you know how that is.
Yeah.
Obviously was suspected by the cops immediately because that's like one of their things. It's almost always the spouse of the person that's decedent.
Yeah. So I guess the emergency medical response suspected an accidental fall, but shifted it into a homicide investigation. Blood was smeared and spattered on the steps, the risers, the corners, the walls, and the molding, both inside and outside the stairway. Investigators and the forensic teams, including the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations, SBI, agent Dwayne Deaver, was brought to analyze the scene. The blood spatters patterns copied with the multiple severe lacerations on Kathleen's scalp led investigators to conclude that her injuries were completely inconsistent with a simple tumble down of a short flight of stairs. Michael Peterson was the only person in that house. The police department zeroed in on him and their prime and only suspect. He was quickly indicted by a grand jury for first-degree murder.
Dr. Deborah Radish, the Associate Chief Medical Examiner, performed Kathleen's autopsy. She discovered that Kathleen had 7 distinct lacerations on the back of her head, which resulted in extensive bleeding. Dr. Radish noted that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the back of the head, with blood loss serving as a significant factor. Furthermore, she identified bruises on Kathleen's arms and hands, which she interpreted as defensive wounds. Dr. Thomas Boudin, a consulting neuropathologist, noted evidence of a significant decrease in blood flow to Kathleen's brain at least 2 hours before her death. Dr. Radish concluded that the manner of death was homicide. After studying nearly 300 cases of stair-fall deaths in North Carolina, she noted that the vast majority had no scalp lacerations and none had 7, making Kathleen's injuries exceptionally anomalous for a fall.
That is crazy. The state's case was led by Durham County District Attorney Jim Hardin and Assistant District Attorney Frida Black. These two, they were really good, making this seem like Michael really did it. They thought Kathleen had discovered something deeply upsetting that night, sparking a violent confrontation that ended with Michael beating her to death. To build their case, the prosecution introduced 2 primary motives. Which one? Financial stress. Who doesn't have money problems? But despite their lifestyle and high-paying job, the Petersons were carrying a lot of debt. Kathleen's life insurance policy was worth roughly $1 million as a financial incentive for the murder. 2, Michael's bisexuality. Investigators discovered thousands of images of male porno on Michael's computer, as well as email correspondence with a male worker whom Michael had arranged to meet. The prosecution argued that Kathleen, finding this material that night, confronted Michael. They thought that Michael, desperate to keep his double life a secret, killed her in rage. Michael maintained that Kathleen already knew about his bisexuality, and they had a silent understanding, though they did not discuss it. The prosecution argued that Michael beat Kathleen with a custom-made fireplace tool known as the blow poke, a gift from Kathleen's sister, Candace Zapparini. The tool was missing from the Peterson home during the initial investigation, providing the state with a theorized murder weapon.
Okay, the next little curveball in this story, one of the most sensational elements of the case, emerged during pretrial investigation. The prosecution discovered an eerily similar incident in Michael Peterson's past. In 1985, while Michael and his first wife, Patty, were living in Germany, their close friend and neighbor, Liz Ratliff, was found dead at the bottom of a staircase in her home. She was discovered by her nanny, and her 2 infant daughters, Margaret and Martha, were asleep upstairs. Michael Peterson was the last known person to see Liz alive after walking her home and helping her put the children to bed the night before. At the time, the German authorities and U.S. military police were investigating the death. An autopsy concluded that Liz Ratliff had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, or a stroke, that caused her to fall down the stairs. Her death was ruled natural causes. Following Liz's death, Michael and Patty Peterson adopted the 2 daughters and raised Margaret and Martha as their own. Despite the 17-year gap, D.A. Hardin ordered Liz Ratliff's body exhumed from its grave in Texas and transported to Durham for a second autopsy. Dr. Radish, the same medical examiner who autopsied Kathleen, performed the second autopsy on Ratliff's decaying remains. Controversially, Dr. Radish overturned the original 1985 findings, concluding that Ratliff, too, had been murdered via blunt force trauma. The defense team vehemently fought the admissibility of this evidence, arguing that it was wildly prejudicial. However, the judge allowed the prosecution to present the German incident to the jury to establish intent, plan, and absence of accident. This is weird. what we're doing is weird. Where we're reading but not reading. It's weird.
I like it. So the defense's case. Michael Peterson hired a defense team led by defense attorney David Rudolph and Thomas Maher. Their primary defense was that Kathleen had slipped on the wooden stairs, perhaps having alcohol and Valium and muscle relaxants in her system, and hit her head on the door frame of the stairs, bled profusely, tried to stand up in a daze, and slipped again. The defense heavily challenged the state's physical evidence and timeline. Late in the trial, the defense dramatically produced the missing blow poke. It was found in the Petersons' garage, covered in dust and cobwebs, seemingly untouched for years, destroying the prosecution's theory of the specific murder weapon. Now, on the show, the one, not the real documentary of the real Peterson family, but the made up, like the one they did after, they show the son working on his car, and giving his car to start, and he's looking, I think, straight ahead, and the headlights were still on, and he's seen the blow pork. So he wakes up his dad and the brother screaming, I found it, you know, and the brother says, well, court, there's no blood on it, and, you know.
Well, kind of said that there was no blood on it. They're like,
why would you say that?
Dad, there's no blood on this, right? Well, like, we can tell people about this because they, in the dramatization, he gets questioned a lot more by his family than he does in, like, the real life documentary. But they put a lot of curveballs like that in there, like a bunch of the, you know, tension between the kids and the dad, and the tension between the kids and the kids. And it was, I mean, I guess that's what you do when you make a dramatization. You take a little bit of fact and then mix in a bunch of artistic license, I guess.
Well, the defense noted that Kathleen's skull was not fractured, nor her brain was bruised in a manner consistent of being beaten to death by a heavy, blunt object. Now, even in the real documentary about them, they played the 911 call, and he's frantic, he's crying, he's saying, my wife, she found on the steps, and the operator's like, how many steps, sir? And he can't even think, he can't even talk. Then in the second thing they did with fake actors, you know, they did different scenarios. I don't want to give everything away if you guys watch it. But, you know, he's running up to get towels and trying to clean her up. And by the time any, you know, police and ambulance get there, they confirm that she had passed away. They also bring in an expert testimony in. The defense called Dr. Jan Liestema, a forensic pathologist, who testified that it had no doubt Kathleen's death was a tragic accident resulting from a fall. After reviewing over 250 blunt force trauma cases, stated that Kathleen's injuries lacked the typical hallmark of a beating, skull fractures, and were consistent with the accidental fall.
David Rudolph also argued that the Durham police had instantly treated the home as a murder scene and developed tunnel vision, manipulating the facts to fit their theory while ignoring exculpatory evidence. So
the trial was July 1st, 2003, and it spanned for 5 grueling months, becoming one of the longest and most expensive trials of the North Carolina history. The centerpiece of the prosecution's physical evidence, the testimony of SBI agent Dwayne Deaver. Deaver used a scale model of the staircase and various blood splatter demonstrations to tell the jury with absolute certainty that the blood patterns on the wall could only have been created by the blunt object. Despite the defense's powerful counterarguments and dramatic discovery of the missing blowpoke, the cumulative weight of the blood spatter testimony, the motive of a secret bisexuality, and deeply prejudicial shadow of the Liz Ratliff death proved insurmountable. On October 10th, 2003, the jury returned a verdict. Michael Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge immediately sentenced him to prison for the rest of his life without the benefit of parole. Yeah, it was crazy. You know, he told his kids it'll be okay, and they also tried to, retrial to get him. They did. They tried to appeal it, immediately. A couple times, and it failed. Yeah, failed, and then they did it again in the Superior Court, and it also failed. And also, all this time, they do have somebody from Paris. They were filming even the real Michael Peterson and the family. They forgot to mention that. They were making a documentary about... Yeah, the documentary that we watched. Yes. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah, actually, the dramatization has the documentary team in it, which is an interesting angle that you never see in the documentary. They actually said that they specifically edited themselves out of that story.
So, there's this owl theory.
Yeah, this next part is my favorite part. So the next part is the owl theory, my absolute favorite part of this story. It is based in enough science to, like, you think that it's, like, got weight, but it sounds so bonkers that it can't possibly be right, but then they find, like, evidence for it, and then more evidence for it. It's freaking crazy.
But the first one, they don't show this evidence. It's not until the remake of everything, the longer one, that they see this. And the Sophie, this woman, I guess Michael falls in love with, she was editing all the stuff for them, this film director plays, and falls in love with him, and the neighbor, Ray's going to get into the... Go ahead, tell the owl theory about the neighbor.
Yeah, we'll go through it. Oh, man, I was just going to say something. Hold up, cut. What was I going to say? The crazy part of this owl theory, you said that they didn't mention it in the documentary. It's because this guy that came up with it, Larry Pollard, is actually their neighbor. He actually took this theory to David Rudolph, like, the day before the closing arguments. Like, when it was so late in the trial that he couldn't do anything with it. Couldn't, like, look into anything, didn't have any time to go do any, testing, any investigating, nothing. It was, like, right at the very, very end where he couldn't do anything with it. So even though it's a really good theory, it didn't help him out in any way whatsoever, but it's super compelling in a weird way. So,
right.
Like I said, Larry Pollard, he's an attorney, an avid hunter, lived right by the Petersons. He proposed that she wasn't beaten to death. She also didn't have an accidental fall, but she was rather attacked by a barred owl out in front of her house. Pollard theorized that Kathleen was outside setting up some Christmas decorations when an owl that's highly territorial during mating season, which it was then, came down, attacked her, became entangled in her hair, and struck her head with its talons. According to the theory, a bleeding and panicked Kathleen ran inside the house, rushing to get to the stairs so that she could get upstairs, ultimately collapsed and bled to death at the bottom of the stairwell.
Now, in the second part of not the real Petersons, the other documentary they make, do you remember when they were selling all the things in the house for Michael because they needed the money for him to get him out of prison and stuff? The neighbor says, hey, wasn't there 2 of these reindeers? And they weren't sure. So that's why he went and said that he thinks an owl could have did this, because if she was out there setting decorations, there was 2 out in the lawn. That's what I mean. I think the whole owl thing, the way the lacerations are on her head.
Yeah, so that's the different parts of the theory that there's evidence for. There's the lacerations on her head, which, if you look at them, there are 2 sets that have, like, 3 Y, like, I don't know, double Y shaped. I mean, they have, like, 1 on the bottom and 3 on the top. That's very much like a bird talon, and there are 2 of those on her head. There's one big one on the left and a smaller one on the right. So there's the shapes of the lacerations that were real similar to what a talon would look like. Then they also found microscopic feathers intertwined with clumps of her own hair that had been pulled out. So when she was trying to get the bird out of her hair, she actually pulled out clumps of hair and got a couple feathers from the bird in there. There was also some pine needles and tree sap found up in there. And then they actually proposed this theory to a bunch of raptor experts, or like birds of prey experts, and they said that the photos look very much like wounds that would be done by a bird of prey, and they concluded that it was likely that it could have happened.
So the retrial order 2011, Michael Peterson's path to freedom did not come from an owl, but from the collapse of a state star witness in 2010. An independent audit of North Carolina State Bureau investigation exposed widespread corruption, evidence tampering, and perjury within its blood splatter unit. So they're saying this guy, not only in Michael Peterson's case, they that he forged a lot of homicide things, to get them in trouble,
He did a lot of experiments that were
not.
He already had the conclusion that the person was guilty, so he kind of
fabricated.
Yeah, he forced experiments that would support the theory instead of impartial experiments.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't stand naturally. He didn't use he did things specifically to make certain things happen that only supported their theory. And then if they did any testing that went against the theory, he just kept it to himself.
Yeah. And they didn't test her clothes good. They didn't do very well, I don't think, in anything testing things. Agent Duane, who had provided the most damning testimony against Michael, was fired from the agency. Hallelujah. The audit revealed that Deaver had a long history of understating his qualifications, which, as Ray had said, fabricating the blood splatter and the science of secure convictions for the prosecution. In August 2011, Michael Peterson's lawyer filed for a motion for a new trial based on all the false evidence of the SBI agent. Michael Peterson's
Want me to take this part?
Yeah. Cut. Ray's going to do it.
Ray's going to do it. In August of 2011, Michael Peterson's defense team, led by David Rudolph, filed a motion for a new trial based on Deaver's systemic perjury. In December of 2011, Superior Court Judge Orlando Hudson, who actually presided over the first trial, said that he made misleading and deliberate false statements under oath, recognizing that Deaver's fraudulent testimony had severely violated Peterson's right to a fair trial. Judge Hudson vacated the guilty verdict and ordered a new trial. After serving 8 years in prison in a maximum security prison, Michael Peterson was released on $300,000 bond and placed on house arrest to await his retrial.
Yeah, he waited 7 years for a retrial?
Yeah, 2011 to 2017, so 6 years. And he didn't actually even get a new trial, which is where we're going next with the story.
Right, the 2017 Alford plea. As the prospect of massive, expensive retrial loomed, both the prosecution and the defense faced the hurdles. The state had lost its blood splatter evidence, that the police had mishandled much of physical evidence while it was sitting in storage. Meanwhile, Michael Peterson was aging, financially exhausted, and unwilling to risk another unpredictable jury trial. In February 2017, a compromise was reached. Michael Peterson entered an Alford plea to reduce the charge of voluntary manslaughter. An Alford plea allows the defendant to formally plead guilty to a charge, acknowledging the state possesses enough evidence to likely convict them, while maintaining their absolute innocence. The judge sentenced Peterson to a maximum of 86 months in prison. Because he already served 98 months behind bars to his 2011 release, he received credit for the time served. Michael Peterson walked out of that courtroom as a free man, a convicted felon on paper, but steadfast in his claims of innocence.
So, Michael Peterson case has left an indelible mark on the true crime genre of American justice system. The case's enduring popularity is largely due to the unprecedented access granted to French filmmaker Jean-Xavier de Lestrade, who shot hundreds and hundreds of hours of behind-the-scenes footage with the original trial. The resulting documentary series, The Staircase, which was later expanded, which was the one that we watched, provided viewers with an intimate look into a high-stakes defense strategy and the emotional toll of the criminal justice system. The case also inspired a dramatized HBO miniseries, which we also watched, podcasts, and countless armchair sleuths dissecting everything from blood-splattered trajectories to the biomechanics of an owl strike. Ultimately, the Staircase murder remains a fractured narrative. Kathleen's sister, Candace Zamperini, and Lori Campbell remain staunchly convinced that Michael brutally murdered Kathleen and escaped true justice. Michael's children and the defense team maintained that he was a victim of a malicious prosecution, a bizarre coincidence in Germany, and a corrupt forensic scientist. More than 2 decades later, exactly what happened in that dimly lit stairwell on December 9th, 2001, remains an unsolved enigma. Oh, crow. Try again. More than 2 decades later, exactly what happened in that dimly lit stairwell on December 9th, 2001, remains an unsolved enigma to the public, locked away in history.
It's one of my favorite, I think, stories.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really, even the second part of the one that's on HBO, and you can watch it on Netflix, but they did talk about towards the end saying, Sophie, you'll see it, the woman that they were falling in love with each other, asking the one friend, what if he did kill her? And they kind of make it like Michael Peterson talking and saying, we don't have to, I don't know. It has its...
I don't know. I wrote down a ton of stuff while we were watching this. And if you, at the very end of the dramatized story, it's about, him and the Sophie lady breaking up. And she asked, did you ever love me? And he's like, I don't know. So it seems like he was a user. And he just used her to have somebody to talk to and somebody to help him out on the outside, and just
screaming that he didn't want to live with women anymore and that he was into men and he just wanted to be left alone because he was going to move to Paris with her. And
which,
he wasn't having it.
Which is exactly part of what I wrote down on here, that this is actually the wording that I used. During the documentary, Peterson seemed like he was performing for the camera. I think that came off as disingenuous. I wrote that, and then it went on and on and on, and was exactly like that for the entire thing. It was like he was performing for the camera, wasn't it? It was. Yeah. The guy was. It just seemed like he was full of doo-doo constantly.
Yeah. So check it out. It's on Netflix, and I know the one, the second one, the longer parts, is on HBO Max.
So I wrote down some other stuff. I got the Dr. Radish lady concluded that it was a homicide, even though whenever she first did it, she wrote down on the paperwork that it was, she died from, severe loss of blood, blah, blah, blah. Nothing about it being a homicide, nothing about nothing. And like her boss came in because she was like associate medical examiner or whatever, and the actual guy, the head one, came in and said, I don't know if you would want to amend that report to say blah blah blah, maybe you could do that. And that's exactly how it happened. They were very incestuous between the medical examiner, the DA's office, the police. They were all like intertwined and talking to each other and twisting evidence to like help the other person out. It was bonkers, really. The Agent Deaver thing where he, fakes blood splatter evidence by, like, he didn't really fake it, but he like made the conditions of the experiment so that it came out in his favor. It was really weird to watch. And then you watched them dance like crazy people, like you're investigating a murder. You can't be it'd be like me sitting here talking about it and like laughing. It would be weird,
right?
And that's them also, being weird.
The part where I forget his name, where they got him off.
That was crap, what was his name? Pause, because I wrote it down. I think it's Greg Taylor.
Greg Taylor, that sounds familiar.
Let me double check and make sure it's the right name. So this guy, he was in for murder
as well. And here, long story short, he didn't do nothing. There was a little red spot on his truck where it broke down, and no one could define if it was blood or not. So he was in jail for a good while. He missed his kid growing up, graduating high school. She was 9 when he went to jail, and she was 29 by the time he got out. And I believe they also used the Alford method to, not proving that he did it, because him and his friend it was his birthday, he was out partying, and they end up crashing their car like in a deserted place, and there was this body laying there, and they didn't know who it was, and the police showed up the next morning, and the guy went to go claim his car. So yeah, that's my car. So the police automatically thought, he killed this woman, but he got all of the dismissed trials, and he got to be back home.
You put down a lot of this stuff in here. Can't believe that it could have gone on for so long. This is talking about the Agent Deaver because he worked for the State Bureau of Investigation in North Carolina, but he worked there from 1984 until 2011 when he was canned. It's crazy. 1984?
Yeah, I was born in 1984.
It's crazy. It's so long he worked there. So long he worked there. It was like, what, oh my goodness, 27, 28 years, something like that. And is actually, do some, a little bit of research on the guy. The guy had a degree in zoology, and he took 2 like short courses in identifying blood stain patterns or whatever. Like no certifications of any kind, and he was like the guy training people in the SBI. It's like, it's so bad, so bad. I wrote down, bad science, presumptive testing, and suppression of exculpatory evidence.
Yeah. So guys, seriously, check it out if you're into crime and stuff like that. We definitely like it.
So how was it watching the documentary with me as I feverishly scrawled down notes the whole time?
Kind of weird.
It was. I'm sure it was kind of weird for you because I'm scrolling down. I'm feverishly writing, and I looked over at you. I looked over at her. I'm like, "You're not going to write down anything at all? Nothing? Not one word?" And she's like, "Oh, wing it." And I'm like,
he's going to plot me. He's plotting. So when I fall down the couple steps,
get out of here.
The owl gets me.
It's actually a funny story.
He never would do that.
No, I wouldn't. I told her actually just this morning. It was like, I want to have 20 more years with you. I got to live this out. And I was like, I have to go first. I have to go first because I don't know about going on without you. I don't think I would either. I think I would. I think I'd be a mess.
You'd be okay.
Get out of here. I wouldn't.
You have a good support system. You have your children, your sister.
I don't think Jesselyn can't take care of me forever. And she would be the one, right?
Right.
She would be the one.
So, I know this is probably pretty long. We're at 42 minutes. Wow.
I'm sure we'll cut out some of it because of cutting and...
But next week, on Thursday, we have to do the podcast because I found a person to call in.
So, we have someone to call in. Who is this person?
Her name's Mandy. I found her on Facebook. I follow her. She's Ghost Sister. She's a medium and a paranormal investigator. She travels all over states looking for the proof of the afterlife.
Sounds very interesting.
Yes, I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
I know we already have the questions all written out for her and everything. Yeah. And I'm going to sit there and, I don't know. That's what I told her today. Let's keep this going for another minute. We were talking. And she asked me what I was watching, and I said, I'm watching like it's kind of like a documentary, but it's about how, Ed and Lorraine Warren are, not honest, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, really? And I'm like, Jessie, I think that I would possibly be on that side, thinking that people were full of garbage, making things up, lying. Except that I believe you. Mm-hmm. So if it's happening to you, it has to be happening to other people.
Right. Because
I believe you.
Yeah. I mean, Lorraine and her husband was very good, I thought. They made all those... and I know, money. It's about money.
I saw weird things after. It was like, they did it for free. Like, that's... In the strictest sense of the word, they did it not free because they didn't charge them for their services, but they made the people pay for like all their expenses and airfare and hotel and all that stuff. So
see, I never knew any of that, and I know any local paranormal group will never ask you for money. Maybe for gas if you're pretty far away, or maybe buy something if they have product or whatnot, but nobody for real would ever have you pay.
Yeah, I think that they started that practice, though. We're not going to, because it's another thing that they said, and it was like, most people that are reaching out for investigating stuff, it's because they're like beat down by it. It's like they're down and out. Things are going bad. They can't figure it out. They don't know what's going on. It's making them lose their mind. They're not getting sleep. And it's like, it's when they're like down, like you shouldn't kick people while they're down.
Right. You take advantage of that. And a lot of times it can be, you know, I hear this noise only when I'm laying in bed, and, you know, they feed onto that. But Lorraine worked for a long time after her husband passed away. She did a lot of shows. She was on a lot of things. And she died in her 90s. And her daughter and her husband, Judy and...
I think it's Tom Spear?
Thomas. Yeah, Tom.
I think it's Tom.
They, you know, she, in the movie, the last movie, Conjuring, it was about, you know, Judy could sense things, even as a little girl. But you never know. You know, I can't speak for her. God rest her soul and Ed's, and can't always believe what you see on the internet.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I've seen weird stuff, for sure, but only after being with you. Only, I mean, crazy things. Seeing a person, but I don't know if it was actually a person, but it was definitely a figure. Go bolt down the hallway. I mean, I was positive there was somebody in this house. And I've seen other things. I've seen the light at the old apartment, and the other night we were laying in bed and I heard knocking for sure. And she wigged out.
Yeah, because I got tapped just a couple weeks, probably 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, and then he's like...
It was knocking for sure. I'm like trying to get...
Maybe it was the washer, because somebody maybe was washing the clothes, and I know when
it was nothing. I turned the TV off so that I could hear, and there was nothing.
Because our bathroom, the washer and dryer go along this wall here where our TV's at, and when it's spinning, it...
Yeah, but that wasn't happening at the time.
I don't know.
I mean, it was weird.
We will
weird stuff.
Talk to this girl, Mandy, and I know she had her. It was called Ghost Sisters, but it's Ghost Sister because her sisters were with her, and they couldn't keep up with her. I guess they were too busy in life, but
aren't we all?
But yeah, we'll ask her some questions and see her opinion. Maybe on that.
Sounds like it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Jessi, let's get on out of here.
So I hope you enjoyed our podcast today, and check out the Netflix, the 2 shows, the real documentary about Michael Peterson. And
yeah, check that out, and we'll see you guys all next time.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.